What's up, everyone? Mikey, I'm Narby as usual. We are now doing our second review of the last drop 50-year-old. The last one was the third release, and this one is the sixth release. And this one is bottled at 51.8% ABV, obviously at cask strength, so over 50% again. This one being a tiny bit stronger than the last one. And the major difference here is that this one, the first 30 years, it was matured in bourbon casks, and then the last 20 years, it was finished in Oloroso sherry casks. So 30 years in bourbon, 20 years in sherry, okay? So aging up to, it's either 20, even maybe even a little bit more, so a minimum of 50 years. So should be quite different than the other one, since the other one was strictly sherried, and so we're very curious to see how that bourbon effect, if it's going to make it more complex, if it's going to make it, even fruitier, and perhaps less oaky. It all depends on what kind of bourbon cask we use. So let's find out. This has been breathing for a good 30 minutes. We've nosed it here and there while it was breathing and airing out, and definitely it benefited from some breathing. This one is dark in color too. It's a full rich golden color, but it is lighter as expected, since it does have that bourbon cask mixed with the sherry. So it is lighter in color than the previous one. So I don't know how well that video is going to show that, but I'm sure you guys could tell it's a little lighter. So without further ado, let's attack the nose. Wow, it's it's heavenly. It's just so it's so fruity. So many of those orchard fruits come up right away, and you get a lot of different sugars. I don't know if I've ever nosed anything this sugary, from just regular white kind of sugar to a rich molasses sugar, which would be like a Muscovado sugar, to a rich Demerara sugar, which would be more like a toffee flavored sugar. If you ever do get a chance to go to a grocery store that carries the different kinds of sugars, I highly recommend trying a few different kinds, and you guys will notice some differences in each kind of sugar. And this is like, I'm not saying I've tried every single sugar out there, but this is a spectrum of everything. Like any sugar I've ever tried, and then some for sure. It's that sweet, and it's hard to explain. To know something and just say sugar, it sounds a little weird. Give me more than that. But that's really what it is. It's got all kinds of sugars in there, along with just some incredible fruits. It's almost, like baked pears. It's just like something, you don't really find. If you've watched our reviews, I've never really said that before. And that's what you're getting here. You're getting just like pears and just rich orchard fruits, and they're also rich and crystallized. And just, that's right off the bat. That's what comes to mind.
Yeah, it's like, it literally is like 1,000 different types of sugar. It's like every possible different type of sugar they make in the world all mixed together. But yeah, just tons of the greatest orchard fruit pie fillings. Just pie filling everywhere with the crust. It's, oh my God. And then when I hold my nose like more right here and just go like more gentle, I get all the Oloroso elements, the last 20 years in Oloroso, and I'm getting much more like the last drop, where it was just all Oloroso sherry, especially with the old, moldy, musty sherry and old books, old leather, old antique furniture notes. I'm getting tons of that, like right about here, mixed in with all the fruits. Definitely complex from both casks.
I'd say the number one similarity with the other one is that the element of just that explosion of perfuminess that it is the kind of whiskey where if you leave it in a small room, you can almost walk into the room and the room will smell like it. It's so potent, and it's like balsamic vinegar. It's just potent. It's like that, but in that whiskey way. So it's like such a balsamic whiskey in that sense. And both of them were, if you guys haven't seen the previous review to this one, we did the third release right here. So if you haven't checked it out, check out that review as well. But it's just so fruity. You're even getting some light hints of some coffee beans and chocolate, chocolate, chocolate toffee with chocolate on top.
Yeah, the more time passes, and I put my nose all the way in the glass, I'm getting much more of a perfect swirling, a perfect blending of the bourbon elements and the sherry elements, and that's where, like Narby's saying, that's where all these deep, rich roasted hazelnuts, roasted chestnuts,
Yep.
and then bridge to the coffee, and then to the chocolate, and then just almonds and toffee, everything mixing in and out.
Almond brittle.
Yeah, almond brittle.
Almond brittle.
And just because then you have all those sugars floating around, and then it goes back to the orchard fruits. Like this one definitely is more complex than the previous one.
You're even getting orange peel and lemon peel in here, and that's coming from the citrus element coming from the bourbon.
Wow, this is very unique.
It's even ever so, it's almost like salted nuts coming from that peanut brittle. It's like salty, almost like salted popcorn even. Wow. It's complex. The one thing, and I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, on the nose it's slightly more alcoholic, where on the other one it was 50.9. Can't even tell like it was any alcohol in there whatsoever. This one at 51.8, you could tell a tiniest of tiny bit. It's not off-putting, and if anything, maybe at max half point off, but not even, because it's just so incredible, and it's not an alcoholic nose. But the other one, you couldn't even tell there's alcohol in the nose at all.
So many salted nuts all of a sudden.
Yeah,
you just said it when you
salt,
said salt. The 1,000 different types of sugars have become 1,000 different types of salt. Unbelievable, like the most expensive, highest grade, highest end salt you can ever imagine to go with the sugar. Wow.
It's exquisite. It's like it's got fruits that you just I love that sweet pear element in here.
Yeah.
When you mix that in with the sherry elements, and you're getting that like sweet pear element along with the Oloroso sherry qualities, it's such a cool experience.
You know what it is? It's like really rich pear jam, like pear preserves, pear jam that oddly enough is rare.
Yeah, this is just
Nobody
nuts.
does.
The other one, this is nuts.
Yeah, just baked sweet pear pie, crystallized sugared pear pie.
Even getting rhubarb in there.
This is so complex.
I could just keep going. I almost don't want it. It's like one of these things where I don't even want to do a review on it. I just want to nose it all day.
Oh yeah.
It's gorgeous. Should we try it on the palate?
We will, but I'll be very curious as well to try a little bit, a couple drops of water.
Yeah, we will.
On the nose. Oh man, that'd be great. Remember the previous one took water very well.
It's
Wow.
definitely Definitely could tell that it's both bourbon and sherry on the palate as well. You're getting a lot of the orange peel, lemon peel, apple, pear, toffee, caramel. You're not. The nose suggested so many of those sugars, and it's in that way. I'd never had a whiskey that felt like had so many of those sugary elements. It's not as crystallized on the palate. It's not as sweet and sugary. The drying effects are just the right amount. It's perfect. Vanilla, a little honey kicking in. That salty almond brittle. Even that slight hint of coffee still in there as well. It's not as dusty and musky as the other one, but again, that's because it's been 30 years of bourbon casks. It's really, really good. Really, really solid on the palate. What do you think? I'll put a couple drops of water in there. Give your opinion on it.
Yeah, it's very close to the nose, which is awesome. Across the board. I would say I do get a little bit, it's a little bit, not necessarily alcohol burn, but just
Yes.
heavy numbing.
Yes.
From
It's
the,
a little slightly, you can tell it's a little bit more alcoholic.
Yeah.
But it is bottled above 50% ABV.
Yeah, I mean, it's 51.8%, so I get a little bit of that, which actually, it's kind of nice when it mixes in with the drying, because this to me, it's pretty heavily drying, but I enjoy it quite a bit. For some reason with the bourbon effects, when it's heavily drying, it's not like chewing on wood when it's too much. Like when it is with first fill Oloroso sherry or first fill sherry, it's like literally chewing on wood chips. When you have a bourbon mix or just bourbon, the drying effect, I prefer a lot more. This is really, really nice. Good mouthfeel.
All right, let's lower this guy down to probably around 47. It honestly on the nose didn't change much. It's just so crystallized and so fruity before, and it's just stayed that way to me. Has it changed for you?
The nose is so good, it's like you can't budge.
Yeah.
It's not
Well, I mean,
changing.
you can ruin it. You can you can get less,
Yes,
but it's not.
But
It's not less. It's not more with
it's
the addition of
this
water.
This is impenetrable, man. No, it's still awesome.
And I think I added about 4 drops
It's perfect, man.
in each glass. Yeah, I'd say it's the same. Maybe perhaps a couple more drops of water. I want to try it on the palate before I do that, though.
Yeah.
Water for sure.
Wow.
Improved the palate. It really it got sweeter on the palate too with water. And really bringing out more like luscious honeydew melon
Boom.
and the fruitiness stands out more, where the fruitiness wasn't so wowing at first on the first sip. Now with the addition of water, I'd say it's almost a little bit more wow. Let's try it with couple more drops of water. I feel like it can.
Oh yeah, and for me, it wasn't just the flavors; it was the mouthfeel. The mouthfeel, it got so much more luscious and juicy, and almost like syrupy and fruity and jammy, and all the sugar started coming out in liquid form, which way further enhanced all those flavors getting luscious and juicy and fruitier. Yeah, both these last drops definitely take water very well.
I'd say now with the extra addition of water, For the nose, it's about 95% the same, but it's lost a tiny bit.
Yeah, it's more just losing potency.
Yes.
Not really changing its notes.
Yeah. It's not changing its notes. And in terms of alcohol on the nose, I'm still getting ever so slightly, but that's kind of what it was before too. When you first pour this whiskey, it is pretty alcoholic on the nose. It needs to sit for 15 to 20 minutes before that starts going away. All right, let's do one final,
not really changing.
Final sip on the palate. Cheers, bud.
Cheers. Oh wow, that was nuts. Oh.
Really, just keeps getting fruity. I'm getting a little more, almost pineapple now too.
A little tropical, tropical region.
Yeah, it's just
complex.
I love the drying effects of this one. It's right at the perfect point for me. Really tasty. Finish lingering. Now even getting a little hint of leather and a little hint of that coffee, and the rest is all just the fruit party, and then the sherry bringing in the little chocolate and the caramel and that almond brittle as well, with that tiny hint of saltiness. Really good. Both of these guys. Incredible whiskeys. We mentioned before that Jim Murray gave the first one we reviewed 96.5, and he gave this one that we just reviewed in 97. So obviously giving these some incredible scores, and a lot of people do listen to him when he says, especially when he gives a whiskey that's inexpensive a really high score, it tends to blow up. These are so expensive where I guess it's kind of harder to blow up, but I'd say I normally don't really agree with some of the scores that we've seen in terms of whiskey of the year. A lot of times you try it and it's like, okay, it's good, but it's not whiskey of the year. These, whether the score is exactly the same or not, that doesn't matter. The point is they are incredible whiskey, so he's spot on with that. We gave this one in the previous review a 95. For me, this one is a 94. How do you feel?
For me, it's weird. It's like this one, it sounds really weird to say I like this better than the other one, which overall, which you would think it'd be a point higher. But again, relative to the other monster whiskeys I've had, I give it 95 as well. So in general, it ends up being, it's way different than the other one, but it's on the same level.
Yeah, and for me, the reason why it's a 94, it's not that it's necessarily a worse whiskey, but there are styles, there are whiskeys in this style, particularly Bullmores from the 1950s, and we'll review some bottles of those for you guys to see. I feel like it takes on that kind of an example, but just not as well. So I'm almost comparing that directly to a specific other bottling, and scoring it based on that alone too. So again, why does it really matter if a whiskey's a 94, 95, 96? Yeah, it does mean we enjoy it more when we score it higher, of course. But again, once you're getting in that category, it's just incredible stuff in personal opinion. So yeah, incredible stuff. Really happy about these. Sometimes you get something expensive and it's like, all right, I really needed to find out, but it wasn't worth it. These are worth it. Now, are they worth $3,000-$4,000 a bottle? If you're going to spend $3,000 to $4,000 on a bottle, you can make the argument that these should be included in the conversation. Are they the best bottles for the money? No, there are bottles out there that you can get for 3,000-4,000 that might approach that 96 level, but they definitely belong in the conversation, and perhaps you could argue that they might be worth it if you want to compare it to other whiskeys. Given that it's a 50-year-old and given the rarity in the Scotch world, yeah, you could say it's worth it because other 50-year-old Scotches go all the way up to like $20,000. So
it's in the conversation.
yeah. So given the rarity, you can make the argument that it is, and the quality, which is the most important. But incredible whiskey. Thank you guys for watching. And please comment below. Let us know if any of you guys have tried this, and if you've tried both of them, which one you guys like better. Mike, I guess, liked this one a little tiny little bit better than the other one, but not enough to score it at a 96, so he kept them both at a 95. I enjoyed the other one a little tiny little bit more, which bumped it up to a 95, where this one was trying to get there for me, but just kept it at a 94. All right, you guys. We'll see you guys soon.
Cheers.